Okay, I'm not sure if we're live or not. Let me refresh. Okay. All right. Hopefully everybody can find me on this new one. Let's hope. I am going to go to the video myself. I am going to go to... Okay. Crazy, crazy, crazy. This is the only way I could get it to work, guys. Sorry about that. Yay. It feels like a Monday, I'm telling you. Let's hope that everything works this time. Hopefully everybody can find me. Probably need to share this over. Okay. Over to Facebook. Hold on one second. Let me go do that real quick while you guys are getting on and finding. Share. All right. And then we will start. All right, here we go. YouTube, share. Let's hope that works. Okay. All right. Good evening, everyone. Let's hope the rest of the evening goes good. All right. So hopefully everybody can find me. So I'm going to talk tonight about some of the different products you can use on glass. Some of them are not enamels. We call them non-enamels. Because I've had a couple of phone calls and people are confused, and we do have a lot of products, so I'm not sure I'm going to solve everything tonight, but we'll get to going on it. And if you have any questions, type them in the chat, and if I miss them, I'll go back and answer. Okay, so hopefully it will allow us to keep the chat on there, hopefully. All right, good. Everybody can hear me okay? All that's good. Let me double check. I don't know if I can do it from my phone or not. Okay. We're good? Okay. All right, so let me get rid of that. And one other thing I need to do real quick. Give me just a second. Okay, save. Let me see if I can make sure that the chat is there. That's what I'm worried about, because otherwise I can't see anything that you guys, you know, put up there. I'm still looking. One second. Okay, so type any comments, like if you have a question regarding something you've been trying with the products on glass, and let me know if you have specific questions. That way, I don't know that it's going to allow me to do the chat thing with it being live. Okay, we'll just have to deal with it. All right, so first of all, thanks for hanging in with me, and so we can get this done. Be sure and like, subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and that way you'll get notifications when I do go live. Hopefully I can figure this thing out. Talking about De-Zigners. Okay, yes, Carolyn, I will do that for sure. Okay, and let's see, does anybody else have anything they want to talk about? We were just at the Glass Expo in Las Vegas, and it was a great show. Lots of people, more vendors this year than there was last year, being our first year back after the shutdown of COVID. So hopefully next year there'll be more. So please check that out. It's always like the first weekend in April, or the end of March, 1st of April. So keep that in mind. Okay, loud and clear. I would like to know how to layer, Virginia says. Okay, so Virginia, I do have that De-Zigner project. It's called the hydrangea, and it's multi-layered. you know, and Paul Mesnick has some great videos out there and tutorials on layering. I've taken one of his online ones. Shelly's taken a couple. So he is a great resource also. But I do have that video. It's like a video and PDF, multiple pages, talks about firing schedules and everything. So check that out. It's a ton of information. And it is using De-Zigners because I like to do brush strokes from my toll painting and ceramic days. And that was a way for me to be able to do a layered piece. I am going to try to do more layered pieces when I have time. Another request was like reverse painting. That was something that someone was asked about. So Teresa, are you asking if there's any new colors? There is only the 16 colors as of right now. Maybe later in the year I'll look at adding some more, but right now there's just those. Okay, using fine frit, is there anything special, Marie says, I should do with color concentrates and the frit? I am going to show you how I sift. I did bring all the frit and everything. And should I use the CCs less watered down? Okay, so that's a big question too. All right, let me switch over here, okay? All right, so the first thing is everybody knows the website. And if you're have any of our glass products and you're not on our closed Facebook group, this is the name of it. Please ask to join, and you need to answer the questions. If you don't answer the questions, I'm not going to let you on, okay? The little things at the show, Teresa said. We had a pack of the 16, so the De-Zigners come like this, okay? So there's 16 different colors. And then you get a little scoop with them. We are out of scoops and they're on back order at the moment, but for the most part when we ship these out, we do ship them with a little scoop, and I don't even have one here to show you, but it's just a little plastic scoop. So the De-Zigners are the newest product. They come in a 1/2 ounce and 1 ounce, and they're by weight. They are a non-enamel. Okay, a non-enamel. And that means there is no frit in them. They are not going to gloss on their own. Okay, and your color concentrates falls into that same category. These are made. The color concentrates are made for ceramics, and they go up to 2167, basically 2167 degrees. So we're putting them on glass. We're using them to shade on top of enamels when they're dry. We're using them to do stamping and filling in. They're not made, and this was a question that came up. Someone had a problem. They said, my color concentrates cracked before I even fired it. You cannot flood the color concentrates on like you do your enamels. Okay? So you have to brush them on, use them for stamping, very sparingly. If you put them on really heavy, you can get cracking. White will crack first above anything. It's just the titanium and stuff that's in there. That's just a problem that it has. Oh, so Teresa, you're not meaning De-Zigners. Okay, so I think you're meaning color strokes is what are you meaning the color strokes that I used? Let me know on that. Okay, so non-enamel, non-enamel. Okay, meaning no glass, no frit. They will not gloss. The De-Zigners have to be, okay, Teresa, got it. The De-Zigners have to be capped on the first firing. Okay, or they will literally wipe off if you touch it. Okay, because the only thing that is binding that is when you're mixing it with the GM300 glass medium. That's your binder. Once that burns off, there's nothing holding it there. So think of it as the De-Zigners are what I put in my concentrates, what I put in my enamels. So this is the colorant, so to speak, that we use in the products. And I'm giving it to you in a pure form so that we can have nice, bright, it's not diluted colors. You can do brush strokes with it, that type of thing. Okay? So non-enamel, non-enamel. Now, what Teresa Berger is talking about is at the show, I did have a small kit of something new. Well, it's not new. It's new to you guys as far as glass artists. Um, I've been waiting like 3 or 4 years to really bring it to you guys because I didn't want to confuse you, and now it's gonna, add another layer of, oh, here she goes again. So those are the color strokes, okay? So the color strokes and the color concentrates are a ceramic product. So they do not have a very, very, very tiny amount of frit in them, okay? They don't gloss, they're matte, and they should not be flooded on like the regular glass enamels, the G series or GS or GT, and we're going to go through all of those, okay? So these are ceramic products, but we can use them on glass. We just need to take precautions. Venting sometimes is required. You also need to sift clear powdered frit over them because they do not gloss on their own. Okay, so this is a brand new one, and at the show, if you were there, I had what I call my clay share kit. This was just because I already had a kit of these colors. So this is these products, and it's got a black, a white, a red, a yellow, 3 different pinks, 3 different purples, a teal, and a green. So these are products that I'm going to be using on some new things using my Prismatic textured sand that I released at the show. And I'll show you some of those pieces. So the sand, a lot of people, we sold out. I mean, it was crazy. The sand comes in 16 ounce or 4 ounce. Okay, they are on this website. All you got to do is type in Prismatic in the search bar and it will come up. Okay, G for glass, P for Prismatic 300 is the product number. So this is allows us to do, the sand will allow us to do some different things that we haven't been able to do. So let me go there real quick before I talk about anything else, okay? Would like to know more about resist with enamels. Okay, actually, Stacy, I have a video out there that I did on jewelry. So if you can't find it on YouTube, let me know and I'll find the link for you, okay? But there is one using the resist, flooding the enamels, peeling the resist up, and then firing. So whatever colored glass is in the background, it would show that. And I don't have any examples in front of me, okay? Okay, so this is the Prismatic sand. I know I posted pictures on Facebook, and it's really, do you see the shimmer? I don't know that you can really get the effect. Teresa was at the show. She can tell you that when you're looking at these in person, the sand is a mixture of an enamel, the layering mix, and the Prismatic sand. And that is all listed on, I give you my complete formula here. Okay, so you're going to mix, and I'm going to do a demo of this exact tile in a week or so. Okay, so give me time. I'm still trying to catch up from the show, but it tells you on the jar that it's 3 teaspoons of the sand, 4 teaspoons of a G series color. I like to use white because then I can paint on top of it with any color, and then 6 teaspoons of layering mix. Mix that all together and you pour it onto your glass. That will make a textured surface. Okay, so I think you can kind of see that this is one that I demoed on, but you can kind of see the texture there. So it's a pour all over. When it's dry, 24 hours, then we can paint on top of it. And that's what I'm going to show you on this one when I, probably next week. Okay, but see, here's one that I stenciled. You guys were asking me, how can I stencil? Because you liked everything I was doing on the ceramics, and you wanted to know how to do it on glass. This is how I was able to figure that out. So this is unfired. This has just got the Prismatic textured sand mixture poured on, dried, and then I stenciled on top of it, or you can brush stroke on top of it. Okay, and I'll go into more detail. And I'm also going to offer a webinar detailing a couple, like 3 different projects. it looks pretty cool. So you can kind of see the shimmer. This has powdered frit on it, so you can see that it's a very fine. So you get the shimmer from the frit, and you also get the shimmer from the sand that's in that mixture. I've stenciled a background, and then I've done a watercolor look on this. This one here is fine frit, so it's a little bit larger, and you just get a different look. Okay. And then we've got the medium frit. Look at that. I mean, it's hard to show on camera, but hopefully you can kind of see the different. So the look will determine which frit you put over it, what the outcome you want with this particular technique. Okay. All right. So we've got that one. And then now this is the coarse. Isn't that cool? It just looks like little rain pebbles on it. But it's very, it just shimmers in the light when you see what's coming up underneath, and then the combination of the texture of the piece itself. And then I did one, and I have an idea for an actual project of this. I use this as a mosaic, so I just had some little 1/2-inch cut clear squares and put that on there. And I think it has its place, maybe something modern versus the hydrangea, but I wanted to show you, and you can go back on my Facebook page or on the CFE Glass Color Artist and see all of these different, and I've listed exactly what is on it, whether it's fine, powder, medium, coarse, or mosaic. But I think this lends itself to, like, if I stenciled like a buffalo check, or I've got a Christmas one that I want to do. So I think there's a lot of possibilities for this. So hopefully that gets you inspired. All right. Hey, Lisa. Thanks, Stacy. I'm glad you like it. Okay, so real quick, so I kind of jumped around there. So when you're posting on the CFE Glass Color Artist page, okay, make sure, first of all, I usually try to friend anyone that's on there so that you can tag me when you have a question. So be sure and tell me what COE you're working with, how many layers, if that applies, if you're doing a single or a double or whatever, your stacking order, because I need to know what is on what layer. The more information you can give me, in other words, the better I'm going to be able to tell you why or why not something happened or didn't happen. You know, did you cap it? Did you paint on top but on the bottom? Maybe you painted on the top of the top piece and the bottom and then on the bottom. So all of those, you know, make a difference. What was your firing schedule? And what products? Because I think everybody says, well, I used your enamels. Well, the enamels are dry powder, and they look like this. This is a 1-ounce jar, okay? But some people are calling the color concentrates enamels. They're not. They're in non-enamels. So, and some of the names cross over from the different product lines, and they might be lemon peel here, okay? But I also, under color concentrates, have lemon peel. Okay, so be sure and list, preferably with the product number and name. That will help me diagnose or help you with what your question is. Okay, so exact products you used, and are you brushing, puddling on the color? So just some brief, you don't have to tell any secrets of what you're trying to do, but it's easier for me. If you don't want to post it there, then send me an instant message, and I will be happy to answer you. Just remember, there's a lot of you, so if I don't answer right away, I will get back to you, okay? Or you can send me an email with pictures. I can usually look at something and pretty well tell you what you did or didn't do, okay? So don't try to flood on your color concentrates. It's going to, now you can flood to some extent the De-Zigners, but you can't do that on the color concentrates. It will crack. Okay, now let's go back to some basics. So some basic tools that you need to have when you're doing your glass. Q-tips are great. I like the pointed ones. It's easy to remove things. It's also easy to remove excess on the edge of the glass, so you're not putting your bare fingers on there. We have the RD66. This is a wipeout tool, but it's great for making little dots. We also have the dotting tools. Okay, these come in 3 sizes, or a kit. They come as a kit for the 3 sizes. So they're called the dotting tools. And anything I'm talking about, all you have to do is enter one word in the search bar on the website, and it will find anything with that word in it. So if you just put dot, it'll bring up anything. Quill pen is good to have if you're going to do any of the designer work, or you want to do writing of a poem or a recipe, that type of thing. I only use the quill pen with the De-Zigners and the color concentrates. Does anybody know why? Can anybody answer that question for me? Why would I only use this, the quill pen, with the concentrates or the De-Zigners? I'm going to give you a second to think about that. Okay. The reason, nobody's answering, so I'm going to go ahead and talk. The reason is they don't have any glass in them, no frit in them. It's hard to get an enamel mixed up and get it to flow on the pen. It's just too gritty. These are chalky. They start to dry. They clog. You might be able to do it with like clove oil and the enamel. I can do the silkscreen product with the quill pen and the clove oil. Okay, Teresa, thanks for coming on. So quill pen, De-Zigner, and concentrates are the best way to use the quill pen. Okay, hopefully that makes sense, because you've got too much frit in your enamels and it just won't flow very easily. You have to work way too hard, and you can try it, but I just don't have the patience for it. But clove oil would work better than mixing it with the GM300, because this is fast drying, first of all, and it gets chalky and starts clogging that pen up. Okay. This is just a cleaning tool from the ceramic industry if you're going to do any kind of carving, and that pertains to that layering mix, prismatic sand. So that's another tool. This is our mixing tool that has the squared edge and the tapered edge. So I take my product out of my enamel, my dry, with the large end, and then I mix and test for my consistency with the tapered end. And there's other videos that talk and show you how to do that. Another thing that you need to have with you is the Staedtler Tri-Plus Fine Liner. Okay, it is a water-based, and you can draw directly on the glass. You can even draw on this textured mixture if you wanted to. It's going to be hard because it's rough, but it will burn off, versus a Sharpie. Sharpie will sometimes repel your enamels, so I'm recommending this as far as transferring or using it to draw directly on the glass. Okay. And then we have, there's actually 5, I believe, in the series. These shapers, okay? These are rubber tips, and they have different points. These are great just to, like, remove or straighten up an edge with your enamels. There's some wipeout techniques. It's similar to this one, but this is a harder, and these are softer. So that's something to think about. And an X-Acto knife is good to have. Okay, so that's my tools that I like to have. And now let's talk brushes real quick, just so that you know what you can use and can't use. So this is, and mine is well used, this is the CFE class brush. It's the 455 number 0. It's a Taklon brush. I do all my painting with my enamels with this brush. I don't care what size the piece is. If it's 2 inches, 1/2 inch, or 12 inches, I still use this brush to flood, push, and pull, because then I know I'm always getting the same consistency of my product. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. All right, Then as far as outlining and detailing, the 3600 number 2 liner. When you wet the brush, it's just like when your hair, when you wet it, it comes to a point. So that's what I've used to do all of these black lines. The outline is that 3600 brush, number 2. We have it in 3 sizes. If you prefer a smaller size, there's a 5/0 and a 0, I believe, available. My Sumi brushes are one of the other things that I use a lot, and I do have a suggested, there's like a 13-piece glass set of brushes out there. These are just some individuals. So the small and the medium Sumi brushes, and you can just type in Sumi. They come as a 4-pack, or you can buy them individually. But the small and the medium are the ones that I use the most. That big black piece with the pink flower, I did with a 1/2-inch mop. And you can just type mop in there. And anybody that takes the webinar, I'll give a detailed description of the brushes. The other one is the round brush. This is the 2004 KB, meaning Kolinsky blend. Okay, so this is a dry brush. You know, when your hair's dry, it's fuzzy and not as refined, but once you wet that brush, you see how it comes back to a point. So this is a mixture of Taklon and natural hair, and it's a fairly inexpensive round to do some brush strokes with. Another one is the stubby brush. This is like a mongoose hair, and it's good to stipple in centers of flowers, and there's some other bird feathers, different things you can do with that. And then the stencil brushes. I did add, a lot of you bought the stencil brushes. We have a new one. It's the size 10 for smaller stencils. And then I don't have mine here, but the 20 and the 18 are the other 2. So there's 3 different ones. Just type in stencil and you'll find those. Okay. All right. So that's my brush that I do all my application with. All right. So let's go over. This is the G and the number. So G standing for glass. So it's made for glass. Okay. So this is a dry enamel. Okay. Dry powder. Let me grab my tool. And you're going to mix this. See, it's completely dry. And you're going to mix it with your GM 300. Okay. And there's other videos that have the mixing the consistency out there. Okay. So G for glass. And that means that G also is food safe, non-toxic, food safe. It can go on the top. It glosses when it's fired. So it does not have to be capped, but it can be capped if you want. Okay. The GS is G for glass, S for sparkle. This happens to be 504 silver sparkle. Okay. The sparkles, other than the copper, isn't that pretty? Other than the copper, you can fuse between glass, but until you fire the white, silver, and the gold, fire them one time, like to 1380 with a 10-minute hold, and then you can cap them, and they will retain their sparkle. But it washes out, except for copper. Copper can be fused between glass. Okay, so that's the GS. When you're looking for the products on the website, if you're on the home page, and let me see if my deal will switch for me. Hold on. So here is the home page of the website. So you may or may not know, but when you scroll down, oh, that's not going to work. See these buttons here? So if you click on glass enamel, you have another sub-menu over here. So you've got your G, non-toxic, the BA is the bubble art. So everything is listed there. Okay. The CC enhancers are those CCs that I was talking about earlier. Okay. All right, let's go back to this. So the sparkles are not food safe unless you mix them with an enamel. because they have texture. They're a mica base. The hotter you go with them, they will be smoother, like if you're working on window glass. And all the products can be used on any type of glass. 90, 96. I work with 96. Float, you can put them on wine bottles. It doesn't matter. But if you mix the two of these, the G and the GS, 50-50, it becomes food safe at that point. It's non-toxic the way it is, but it's rough and textured. So if you want it smooth and food safe, then you need to mix it with an enamel. And when you mix it, you will think it's solid silver or gold or whatever color you're using, but you still have the equal parts of it. And when you get done firing it, it will almost remind you of like a dichro type look. So you will have yellow with a fleck of whatever sparkle you had mixed up. Okay. Nobody's writing any questions. Anybody got any questions so far? You guys are being quiet. All right, so I'm going to keep going here. I'll try to watch for questions. So the BA series, which is Bubble Art. Okay, so BA standing for Bubble Art. And then they are 5,000 numbers. I'm just doing a great job. Okay. Well, hopefully this, I mean, I've done others, but I wanted to really just concentrate on tools and what the products were. So bubble art colors, you can mix, and I need to go back here. You can mix any two colors together to get another color. Okay. So you could add white to something, or you can mix like a darker green, add some yellow, make a lighter green. So don't hesitate to do that, okay? If you mix bubble art and, say, a G color, what's going to happen? You're reducing the bubble capacity because you're adding a non-bubble product, okay? So if you decide to do that, so like this is navy, if you went over and you did the G340 and added to it, it's just going to add more blue to it, but it's going to reduce the bubbles, okay? You can also use any of these products dry. You can sift them on to your glass. There's different enamel sifters. Bullseye has this guy here. You can see for larger quantities. I use this one when I'm sifting my enamels onto my clear glass to do vitrograph and do my murini pools. And then you've got these smaller little red ones. I think they come in 3 sizes, usually sold as a set. And you would just have to type in enamel sifters on Google, and I'm sure it'll come up with all different types of sites for you. Okay. So the next one is the GT. G for glass, T toxic. So it is cadmium based. It has some lead in it. It's not made for food, so you would have to, first of all, they have to be vented. There's 3 colors, a red, yellow, and an orange. They need to be vented, so just like a 1/2-inch little post, I have a clamshell, and so I just put, imagine this is a post, so I just put it between my lid and the bottom of the kiln so that it raises it up just enough. And I usually vent to 1100 and then close it. If it is a clamshell, make sure your pieces that have any GTs in them, or you're firing those products, closest you can get to where it's being vented. Okay? That way it gets more oxygen. Don't skimp on your application of this product. If you don't get it heavy enough in any of the colors, it could turn gray, smoky, or even black. Black, it's probably because it wasn't vented. Okay? And you would fire it just like you fire all your other enamels. But you do need to vent it. So there's only 3 colors: the yellow, the orange, and the red. Now, you can mix those 3 GT colors together to get another color, but you cannot mix it with a regular G. Okay? You might have issues with compatibility and turning colors. Okay, so that is not recommended. But you can, and so like you can mix any G with another G series, and you can mix any GT with another GT. Okay. Then we have our Glitz product. This happens to be the copper, and it's hard to see, but most of the product is at the bottom. It's a pre-mixed product, and you can see that most of it's the liquid and all the products at the bottom. So when you're using the Glitz, you shake and stir, and I shake it until I see all the product run off the bottom. And I just keep doing it. And then I use out of my lid. Okay. If it doesn't, you can see now it's kind of mixed up. You don't see as much of that liquid on the top. But you can take your tool and get that all mixed up. It's a brilliant, it's a nice, bright, shiny, metallic. It's like a sparkle, but it's already pre-mixed. It is a mica based. Clean that off. So now if I shake this, see how that removes from the bottom? Almost, but not quite. So I didn't get that stirred up. So I would stir it again or shake it again. So did you see that? Let's do it again. So when I turn it upside down, looky there. Pretty well mixed up. So then what I do is I just use out of my lid. And you can do line work on top of the enamels. I did that on the sunflower piece. You can go back and look at that one. I think I posted pictures of it. You can add this to your G series if you want to mix it up like the sparkles. You can do that. This is more expensive. Your sparkles are going to be cheaper. So cost-wise, that may be something you want to look at. Okay. Now, the other thing about the Glitz is being pre-mixed, it also has what we call a burn-off. So when you take this out of the kiln, anything that you've, drawn lines, you can put it in a squeeze bottle and do work that way too. It will have a burn-off. So when you wipe your finger across it, you may see a little bit of copper on your finger, but it's going to grab everything that it needs to hold it in, and then that's just excess, called a burn off. Okay, and you would do that to your full fuse also. Okay, so everybody understands GM300 is your basic glass medium that you're going to mix with your products. If for some reason you ever, I've only seen one of them, if the Glitz were to dry out and you only have the product in the bottom, add medium, just let it absorb, and you can work with it that way. But I've only seen that happen where maybe a lid wasn't on. Do you cap before first firing on the Glitz? Carolyn wants to know. I tend to put it on top, Carolyn. You can put it between, but I think when you put it between, it diminishes. So I would almost, personally, I would take it to 1380 with a 10-minute hold on a single piece, and then I would cap it if I wanted to. Okay. Good question. Good question. Okay, so I think, and then you've got, remember, your De-Zigners that are going to be mixed with the GM300 also, and you have to cap those on the first firing. You have to cap them, or they will literally wipe off in your hand when you pull it out. Okay? And these are more pure pigment. All right. Any questions on those? That's your basic enamel. That is all glass products. And then the non-enamel is your concentrates and your color strokes and your De-Zigners. Okay, so let's come a little bit closer. Okay, so all of these have to be capped for them to be shiny and food safe. Okay, so they have to be capped to be shiny or glossy and food safe. All right, so let's look at color concentrates. Let's move this out of the way. All right, so this is a stamped piece. I stamped it with black color concentrate, and I use the dotting tools to apply my color in the different areas. So I picked up with the dotting tool and I filled in between, because it was easier for me to control that versus a brush and the tip of a brush, because I can get in these tiny little spaces with those dotting tools. And there's one even smaller than that. This guy here. See how tiny he is? So it's real easy to get in those small spaces. So this is all color concentrate. Now, this background here, this green, and I've got videos out there showing you on the stamping. I actually took the Sumi brush, I thinned the concentrate down, and just kind of mushed it on there. Just a really thin application. And I did it on white glass, and then I just used a green. These were just some scraps that I was trying to do some samples on. Now, I'm going to see if you can see that. Do you see how the dark green looks rough, or it's not pitty, but that sounds really weird. Like not pitted, it's just a rough area. That is because the darker the product requires more frit. So, which I think there's a great technique. I'll show you another piece for this, because jewelry wise, it would be awesome. Okay, so let's look at this one with that background. See the purple, how it looks textured. That's better than saying pitted, because it's not pitted, it's just textured, okay? So there again, that was put on heavier. So try not to go too heavy, okay? But I wanted it solid. So this is a single piece. I sifted it one time with clear powdered frit, and I still got some rough or textured areas. I think it looks great for jewelry. But if you want it completely smooth, sift again. So I set this. Now I could put this on, you know, like a colored piece of glass. Of course, not that color, but a colored piece or white, and then you could sift over the top again. You love the overview. Oh, good, good. Thanks, Lynn. Paula, the piece is exactly what I was asking about. Okay, so like this. So if you're wanting to do jewelry, I say use the concentrates. You could stamp and then fill in. Just don't get too thick. Okay, thick is not good. Okay, you just, so all I did was, let me see if I've got, let me grab, I want to show you real quick. Let's just grab some glue. Always shake your color concentrates. They are thixotropic, meaning they congeal in the bottle until they're shaked or stirred. Okay, so you can take, and let's do it on the back of this one so you can see. So we'll pretend that I've got an image stamped here. So I'm grabbing my paint on the tip of that dotting tool, and I'm just sitting it down, and I don't have enough, sitting it down and then pulling it into that area. So sit it down and pull. So you can make a comma stroke with it that way. And it's pretty, I mean, you can, I don't know if you can see it, it's built up on there, but the darker the color, it's going to require more frit. Either sift 2 coats across it, you still may end up having to come back again, but that is a way that you can get a fairly solid image without having too much trouble. Okay, and that's what I did on these. So you can see the red was fine. It was just the dark green, even this purple was okay on these areas, but usually the darker the color. Okay, let me look at the questions here. If I want to make designer colors for pulling murini, what products should I get? Okay, so Lynn, as far as, you need to use enamels when you do that. I have not tested the other products to try to make murini, so the G series or the GT, okay, but if you're going to make murini, so you've got a 4 by 4.5 inch square, and what I usually do is I will sift like a 12-inch, 12 by 12 with a color, or I cut them 4 by 12s and I will sift. You have to pre-fire the GTs because remember they have to be vented, so you can't stack. And I have videos out there, and I've done a couple of, I think I put them from, I did a Facebook Live on how I was sifting also and stacking that, but you have to pre-fire the GTs. You do not have to pre-fire the G. These just need oxygen. They need the venting. So just make you up some pieces, whatever your vitrograph pot that you're going to do, 4.5 wide by 12, depending on the size of your kiln. And then you can cut those into the sizes you need to go within it. Or if you're going to do twist, you're stacking your twist this way versus your murini is going to be laying flat. So I will just sift my color on, but I pre-fire the GTs. Pre-fire those. So hopefully that answered pinks and purples. So yeah, you can do any of the pinks and purples. Go look, Lynn, just search on the website for murini, and I have murini out there for sale. And I believe I even include the colors that I use. I'm not going to tell you my stacking order, but I did, let's go back to the website real quick, see if that'll come up. And if you go to the enamels and you go over to vitrograph or murini and cane, so let's go to that one. So if these are some that I've made, so if I go out here, let's just go into the autumn sunset one. And below, I've showed you some of that. Did I list the colors? I thought I did. Oh yes, okay, second paragraph here. Right here it says the colors in this batch are 322 lemon peel, 318 pumpkin, 10. And that's because if someone wants to use this to match a painted piece and they want to insert murini, they can purchase it or the cane and cut their own. So those are the colors I use to create, but they're not necessarily in that order. Does that make sense? Hopefully. Okay. So anytime you need to find something on the website, just type in a keyword. Don't type the whole thing, but black, or just double check that you're getting what you're actually looking for, because some of the products have the same names across the board from the ceramic to the glass. Okay. Okay, good, good. So anyway, so you can fire a single sheet and then insert it into something else, and then you can cap this at that point. Now, one of the biggest thing, and I'm going to show you how I sift, is when I personally do anything with enamel, any glass, even glass on glass or product on glass, I sift the first piece. Okay, so if this was my bottom piece, I'm going to sift that with clear powdered frit, and I'm going to go all the way around the edges another time. And when I say, and I'll do a demo, when I say edge, I'm out here where I'm getting like a 1/2 inch around the edge. What that does is raise up the outside so the center falls first. And it also, if you've got colors on there, it helps fill in the gap so that the color acts as like another piece of glass and weights it down. So if you have a big open area where there's no color, then you may want to sift a little bit more there first, then sift all over. That way you're creating a level piece of glass out of it is what you're doing. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. So when I put that down, then I'm going to sift all over the top again also. Clear powdered frit. I'm a 96 person, and I will show you that. So I like water clear, it's called. Okay, so this is a piece that is all color concentrates. I did a live on this one. So I stamped with the deep cerulean for the stamp here. And then I took the concentrates. And do you see how thin the color is? Very thin. You can almost see the movement of the brush because I wanted it kind of to look that way. If I wanted it solid, I used more like the dotting tool, where I showed you how to make that little comma stroke with it. Okay, so that's another way. You could come back with the quill pen and you could write something, but all of this was in the stamp. So I had a blue piece of glass. I did all my design work on the white, and I sifted clear powdered frit all over this, and I sifted between the colored glass also before I put the other one on top. Okay? So this is just color concentrates. And there's hardly, where it's the thickest, like right at the where the dot started, you see a little bit of texture, but for the most part this is completely smooth. Completely smooth. Okay? So that's all color concentrates. Not necessarily this color, but all, this is all the ceruleans. Light cerulean, cerulean, and deep cerulean. 150, 151, and 152. But like I said, there is a video on how I did this. I did a live on it. Okay? So another use for the color concentrates, and there's a video on this one, and there's jewelry. Whoever was asking about jewelry, it's a great way to do jewelry. So I don't know if you can see, you see that little shimmery look that's right around in there? That is just the paper itself. So what I did was I took thin fire paper, and this is just one that I demoed last week at the show. So this is bullseye thin fire. You can use papyrus also, and you can stamp on there. So I took, we've got stamps on the website. I applied the color concentrates by using the little sponge on the stick, put it down, stamped it, and then you can come back in with washes of color in certain area. You can come back in with your, your liner brush and pull in. You can use your dotting tool to fill in areas. So all of this was like a watercolor. I used the Sumi brush to start with, and I just took color concentrates. This is all color concentrates. And I mushed on a blue and a purple and yellow and green. Usually 5 colors is my recommendation. Don't go more than that. You start getting kind of muddy with everything, okay? So I put it on there. I let that dry, and then I used a stamp, and I stamped on top of it. This happened to be a dragonfly. And then I came back with the same color I stamped with, and I added some accents to make him stand out more, which was kind of cool. And then around the edge, I used a stencil, and I used, I think it was the roller sponges, and I rolled the CCs across the stencil so it imprinted that stencil design, and then I put my paper down. Okay, now, and there is a quick reference guide on doing paper between. It's out on the color concentrate page, the CC enhancer page. After you scroll down past, let's go look at it. That'll probably be the easiest way to do that. Okay, so we're going to go to glass enamels, and then we're going to find the color concentrates, or the CC enhancers. Excuse me. Okay, so this shows you what they look like on glass. There's more of that. See, it says you can click on this here and go to all the videos that I've done with the CCs on glass. But right below this, all of these here are PDFs. So here's a stencil overview, a thin fire overview. So if you click on those, it's going to bring you to a PDF, and you can download that. So I would recommend that you go download, any of those so that you've got those. There are, techniques out here that are specific, but those definitely are there and free for you to download. Okay? So once you get your decoration done, you're going to lay your thin fire paper down, and then you are going to sift clear powdered frit all over it. Because what happens to paper when it fires? It turns black, it smokes. So you've got to leave enough room in between that this can vent. Okay? So you sift all over. I go around my edge again, And on larger projects, unless it's a little tiny piece of jewelry, this shows you on the quick reference guide, I put a clear stringer at the angle on all four corners, and I also do one on each side in the middle. So that keeps that raised up enough that all that smoke and everything can get out of there before your glass seals. Okay. Now, one of the things I want to make sure you know is when you're using the non-enamels, which are color concentrates and De-Zigners, you need to make sure that you clean your edges because they have no glass in them. So my stenciling on here, I need to take my Q-tip and I need to clean just a fraction off of it so that I see the glass, so that when this fuses, the glass on glass. Because if you've got De-Zigner or concentrates all the way out to the edge, so it would not seal here, 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 everywhere that goes all the way out. You just need to seesaw it back and forth, and I've showed that on some other videos. Excuse me, let me get a drink. So that the glass can properly seal. Okay? So as long as you take those precautions, you can use these non-enamels on the thin fire and on your papyrus paper. Alright? So I did a video on this particular piece. Man, sorry. I still don't have a lot of my voice after talking so much out there at the show. These are the De-Zigners, okay? De-Zigners. I also use paste. This video is out there also. So when I did this one, I don't know if you can see it, I did the same thing. I took that Q-tip and I seesawed the edge just so that my glass could seal, okay? Also make sure, I don't care what products you're working with, make sure your color hasn't dripped off the side, because it will show. It'll stay there unless you clean it off, okay? Whether it's just a little drip that maybe you didn't even notice. Excuse me. Okay, so there is a video on this one. Just I wanted to make note that you do need to clean the edges before you fuse. You like that one, Carolyn? I did a video. Yeah, I did a big long tray, and this one, this is all doing brush strokes. So go check that out. I also did the same rose on ceramic. And see, I did the same rose there on the mug. This is actually on stoneware. Boy. All right. Another drink. Okay, so hopefully that explains that. I'm running out of space. Okay. Let's, does anybody airbrush? Have you guys ever airbrushed on glass? Well, you can airbrush on, I know there was a couple of ceramic people out there. Look at this. You can actually airbrush the color concentrates on glass, and I did not cap this. It is so smooth that it just it glossed. And this is like the three ceruleans. See how I've got light, medium, and a dark color. And I had a stencil down. I had all my pieces. I had a bunch of squares left over from something, and I thought I'll just tape them all together, and I airbrushed it, and then I moved them slightly apart, which is kind of cool. So this was like a 12 by 12 stencil that I used. It is fun. So you can use a single or a double action airbrush, and the concentrates are pretty much ready to go. You can airbrush the enamels. You just need to thin them more because they have the frit in them, and they need, they're grittier, and so they need a minimum of 60 psi when you're airbrushing. And you'll have to add multiple coats. If anybody saw somebody, Teresa actually, tagged me as posting pictures of 10 projects for 10 days. And 2 days ago, I posted a rooster piece that I have in my kitchen, and I airbrushed the whole edge. I airbrushed the stencil, and then I airbrushed like the chicken wire behind the rooster. So check that out. So that's done with enamels and concentrates. Okay, so you can airbrush if you have an airbrush, or if you're looking for another way to do something soft and subtle in the background. So this is uncapped one fire. Yes, because you can see it's textured, Stacy. So I taped all the 2x2s together. I just laid out some painter's tape and stuck them all together and airbrushed it. And then when I took them off of that, then I just spaced them out where I left this tiny, like a 1/16 of an inch between it. And then it kind of gave that tiled type look. It was just a bunch of glass that I had left over. And I did not cap it. If you're unsure or you think you're too heavy, this probably has 6 to 8 passes with the airbrush on each color. It is very cool, and there's not a lot of people doing that, and I think this is something that would be different if you're looking for a way to be different with your sales. If you're doing finished items, this would be great. And it's just a stencil. We have stencils, but you could use any stencil. And when I say stencil, I'm talking hard plastic stencil, because there's some confusion. Hold on, I'm going to get one because there's a lot of confusion out there. Okay, so let's get a dark piece here. So a stencil is hard plastic, okay? You can cut them on your Cricut, your Silhouette, all of those. And naturally, I don't have a silk screen here. But a silk screen is, ours are pink, and I don't have very many left. My gal had to quit making them. But they're silk that's been coated with an emulsion. But stencils are a hard plastic, and you can find these anywhere. Does that use a ton of product? To airbrush, Carolyn? No, it doesn't. It goes a long way. Long way. When I say passes across it, it's very, I mean, I do one area, and I have videotaped some of this, but I can't really do airbrushing on a live because of all the equipment. But I will go back and look at the ones I've taped and see if I can't release some kind of a video for you, or I might be able to insert it and we can talk about it when I'm doing a live. Okay, but no, it doesn't use, it goes a long, long ways. Okay, all right, so put that one down. So this is another piece that has to do with that prismatic textured sand. Okay, so it has the same base. So this has got a blue piece of glass. I used a white glass. I taped off a border because I like this framing, I call it. And then in the middle is where I did that prismatic textured sand pour. In the middle, it was dry. I transferred my pattern. And then this is all color concentrates on here. All color concentrates. Okay, Carolyn, I'll look at doing that as far as those videos. Now, when I fired this the first time, it was textured. It was still a little rough. And I was too heavy, even on the texture, with some of my products. So I went back. You can kind of, I'll just tell you, because I'm not perfect every time. This was an experiment. I did this beginning of 2022. I had some cracking in this background because I was in my mind, I was doing, you know, the way I do ceramics, and I can't do it that way. I can't go as heavy. It needs to be lighter, okay? So I touched up some areas. I sifted over it again, and look at that. There is hardly any texture left on this piece. So if you want the capability of doing stenciling on top of the texture, which I have a piece here, hold on. Or you want to be able to do this type of design work, you can do that on the texture. And this is one I haven't even cleaned up. These are demos that I had at the show. Okay, so you can do that and sift it, fire it to a full fuse, come back and sift over it again, and fire it again. And then you have a perfectly smooth surface if that's what you want. And it's a food safe surface at that point. Because if you leave it textured, like those hydrangea pieces that I showed you, that's not food safe because all the bottom areas, the bacteria can get in there Now, you could lay cookies on that or something, but any kind of liquid, it would not be food safe. Okay? So this is one that I'll go back. I'm pretty sure I videotaped it, so I'll release this as a tutorial also later on. I try to videotape everything I do in case I want to use it later, because you never know what I'm going to do. All right, so here is one of the new pieces using that same technique. Okay, so this is white glass with that prismatic textured sand mix poured on, and then I used all color concentrates on top of there. And you can see I used powdered frit on this one. If you're wanting a piece, when we get into this, like next week, if you're wanting a piece, you would need to full fuse. This I wanted, you know, I didn't mind if the frame was not. So I'll give you all the firing schedules when we get ready to do this. But you can keep it as a texture, is what I'm showing you. Okay? And it's fun. Plus you get the shimmer from that sand that's in your base. So that's a fun piece to do. And look at this one. This one I actually did 2 years ago when I was testing this, and I wanted to make sure that the sand in there would not fracture the glass. And it's been sitting on here, like I said, since June of 2021, and it's fine. So another thing, I know Jenny that normally helps me, she's actually helping Larry pile tonight. You could take and like sift like powdered or fine over this, and then maybe you wanted a different size around the edge, but you wanted your design, so you could do that. I mean, there's so many things. I'm just giving you a beginning. You run with it from here. But isn't that pretty? Can you see the texture? This one is, the flowers and the butterflies are painted with color strokes, which is that new product that I'm gonna start plugging here soon. Okay, so I actually used, this is just an old bottle, that like the cornflower blue and the ceruleans. You can do it with color concentrates, but you've got 41 colors in the color concentrates. Guess how many you have in the color strokes? You have 62 colors. Crazy. So if you wanted to try those, I would do the color stroke kit, and then that way you get just a few of them and you can try that. Was that freehand or stencil? Carolyn's asking. It was a pattern that I drew out, and then I teach you how to transfer it onto the textured base. Okay, and we're going to do a hydrangea next week. I'm going to do that one. Some of these more involved ones will be tutorials. Oops, and I just got glue all over me. See that? I stuck it in that. Alright, so that just gives you some ideas. Because we had some problems with purples, you know, the enamel purples weren't this, working as well. And these purples just hold really nice. I love. So the greens are CCs, color concentrates, and the purples and blues are color strokes on there. Okay, so that's a piece. And then the other piece that I showed at the show was the black one. And I don't think I've showed you guys this close up yet. I left it in the wrapping because I'm so afraid I'm going to break it. So hold on a second. I got to get it out. Alright. Everybody that saw this at the show went nuts. Let me back off. Just a little bit. Isn't that crazy? And it is in pink tones. It looks like it's showing up a little bit more pinker than what it is, but it definitely is pinks. This is the textured sand, Prismatic textured sand base, and then I use De-Zigners to do my brush strokes on there. And then this is going to be in the webinar. I actually carved through. Can you see that black line there? I actually carved through, did some stippling, used some dotting tool, and then this one has coarse frit on it. You see all the different, It took me longer to actually put the frit where I wanted it versus the painting of it. Okay, but there will be patterns for all of these. So this is black glass. And then I did a pink. So remember in the beginning I told you the prismatic textured sand mixture. Normally I use white. Well, on this one I use tea rose. So it had a pink background. So you don't have to use just white. Are there strokes like the old Easy Stroke? Yes, Bridget. So like the old Easy Strokes by that other company, my competitor, this would be an equivalent to that, the color concentrates. It is like a one-stroke product. You can use it on your clay, so you can use it on earthenware, you can use it on stoneware, and you can use it on glass. Okay, but this one was done with the De-Zigners. Okay, so it was done with these products on there. Got to go. All right, Linda, see you later. Thanks for joining me. So don't forget to like, share the video. Okay. All right, so any last questions? I think other than showing you the sifting, I want to do that real quick. I think I've covered. The only other thing, I set everything out here so I'd remember. I clean my glass with white distilled vinegar. That works better with our products, we have found. I know some of you are Bullseye and you like their cleaner. This, I just find that I have better luck with the white distilled vinegar. So the black outlines were carved. Only, no, not all of them, Carolyn. I just carved a few of these, but the rest was done with the brush as far as the outline. I just carved some stamens coming out. But I can tell you that that mixture is hard as a brick. And let me tell you, it hurt my wrist to do that. I didn't like that at all. Okay. Not my, but I think I've come up with a better way. All right, I want to show real quick, and then I've got to get off here because I know it's getting late. This is just a piece of blue glass, and I want to show you. Normally, and mine is out by my kiln, powdered clear. I normally use water clear as far as 96. And if my memory serves me, on 90, your clear is clearer than the water clear. So double check that. But when you're working on top of colors, I like the 96 water clear. Okay, is my preference. Just because you don't get milky. Alright, so I'll just take some and put it in my sifter. Do you see how I use my lid? That way I'm not wasting anything. And let me zoom in just a little bit. Okay, and I've got a piece of paper underneath me to catch the excess. Okay, so I'm going to be about 6 inches above, and this one, it comes out really, really heavy, and you should wear a mask. I don't have one here. So that is my one coat all over. Okay, then I'm going to come back and I'm just going to catch just the very edge, like a ½ inch around the edge. And then I would be ready to place another piece on top. Okay, we'll just do this one because it's here. But do you see? You can hardly see through it. And even when I do my designs, you can't see it. That black piece was absolutely white when I fired it. Okay, so if this was the piece that I pre-fired for whatever reason, or maybe I just painted it, then I would come on top of it and I would do that again and sift on that layer. Now I know a lot of you like to use this and you take your tool and run it across that. I find the tapping works better for me, and then I don't need to do the edge, but just make sure everything is covered. If you see a darker area like I saw on this one, I would just add a little bit more on there. Okay, I see more people watching than liking. I know. Be sure and like, guys, and share. If you do share, I will go back and pick a winner and give you guys something for that. There's, you know, it just helps us rank higher and it gets us out there in front of more people. So I appreciate that. But does that help by showing you that? Because I'm not sure I've ever showed exactly how I sift. So that's how I do glass on glass, or if my color's on top, underneath, it's always the same way. Just when I'm doing the one with the paper is the only one. So if you were doing the paper between, you would need those stringers, just little tiny 1/4 inch little bits. Some people use a little piece of frit. I find the stringer, clear stringer, works better for me. Okay. All right. Any last questions? And what I'll probably do another day is I'll demo kind of what I demoed at the show with the stenciling and everything so that you can see the new technique. Okay, so I'm just going to, that's the reason I put a piece of paper down so I can reclaim this. All right, any last questions? Hopefully this helped. Gave you some ideas or clarified some things. So this way, see, I can reclaim that and I don't have to worry about all of that. And again, wear your mask. If you're asthmatic or have any breathing issues, wear a mask when you're mixing up your enamels too. You know, just common stuff. If you're looking at buying the CCs and you haven't purchased any yet, you can buy them singly. But we do have 3 kits. This happens to be kit number 2. They roughly are $54 each. Now today, what is today? The 11th? Yeah, April 11th. So if you're watching this later, I'm going to give you a code. You get 10% off, and it's Thankful 10, all caps, THANKFUL 10 for 10% off any orders. I'm not going to tell you when it ends, but if you're watching this today or within the next week or so, you can save yourself some money. Okay. Let me show you one more thing real quick. So here is some different glass projects that I've done. So on that sunflower there on the bottom right, I used the glitz to do the outlining of the petals. The copper one in the lower left corner, that's a pour, and that's out there on a video. The vase with the pink flowers is also a free video. That is the alcohol ink look-alike technique using the De-Zigners, and then the rest of them are just basic enamel type products and paintings. Okay, so hopefully that helps. Let me switch back, and I'm back. Hi there. I'm glad this time worked at least. Hopefully, I think it did. So, oh, thanks, Teresa. You're awesome too. Thanks for all your help. Teresa actually got a kiln at the glass show, and I brought it back for her. Anyway, okay, if you think of any other questions, post them on my Facebook page, or you can message me, okay? And I'm going to stop for tonight, and then I'll come back next week. I'll usually I alternate between ceramic and glass and then brush strokes, but I may go ahead next week and show you the prismatic textured sand, the basic, the hydrangea one, and get you going on that, okay? So pick some of that up, pick up the layering mix. We have it in pints and 8 ounces. I would get a pint of the prismatic sand and a pint of the layering mix and get you a 302, the white enamel, buy a 4 ounce, and that way you're ready to go, okay? All right, and I'll show you, I'll have some done that'll be dried, and I'll show you how to do the pour and mix and all that kind of stuff. Okay, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thanks, guys. Thanks for your support, and I'll see you next week. All right, take care.